to get lost chasing butterflies. They always sort of reminded me of me. Colors like a butterfly. They don't bother anybody. They just go about their business, colorful, gentle, but determined. I was born on the banks of the Little Pigeon River on January the 19th, 1946 in Sevier County, at the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. Shortly after, we moved to a place called Locust Ridge, or as we always like to call it, over in the holler. I was the fourth of 12 children, so I pretty much spent my childhood surrounded by people. With that many kinfolk, you're going to always be fighting for attention. So I was probably louder than I should have been. But then I guess you could say I was just born to be a storyteller. And because so many of my family were musically inclined, I was also determined to tell my stories through song. I started writing songs before I could even write. I started making songs before I even started to school, and my mama used to write them down for me. We were a very poor family, but we were rich in love. Because we had so little, people used to save scraps of cloth and bring them to the house. One memory that's dear to my heart was the fall Mama began to make a coat for me. Now, a lot of times, when she made something out of patchwork, she'd try to find scraps that matched as close as possible so that it wouldn't be so obvious that they were scraps. But she knew me and my personality, so she decided to make my coat out of the brightest, most different colors she could find. A colorful coat with absolutely no apologies.
Back through the years, I go wandering once again.
Back to the seasons of my youth.
I recall a box of rags and someone gave us.
And how my mama put the rags to use.
As she sewed, she told a story from the Bible she had read.
About a coat of many colors Joseph wore, and then she said,
Perhaps this coat will bring you good luck and happiness. And I just couldn't wait to wear it.
And mama blessed it every day.
I'd never had my picture made in school because they just didn't have anyone that would come around to a small school like ours. But one day, after we'd moved out of the holler, they were having pictures made at my new school, and I thought, boy, wouldn't my coat of many colors be perfect to wear to have my picture taken in?
So with patches on my breeches, holes in both my shoes, and my coat of many colors, I hurried off to school.
just to find the others laughing and making fun of me in my coat of many colors. My mama made for me.
So, when they took the picture, I was actually crying. But I forced myself to smile because I just wanted my picture made so bad. I suppose it's when I learned that if I wrote songs about things that bother me, well then they don't bother me anymore.
Just for me.
If you didn't know it by now, then it comes as no surprise that I've always dressed just as I please. It makes me different. And ain't that what we all want to be? A little different? Now, nobody's going to be ordinary once you learn to believe in yourself. My grandpa, Preacher Jake Owens, was a rock in our family, and almost from the day he was born, he felt the call to preach. So I started singing in church when I was, well, as far back as I can remember. I suppose I got much of my love for God and music from him and my family. Would become my own private place. An old abandoned church with broken windows, buckled floorboards, and a sad old neglected piano. Yet I was fascinated by it all. I would sit and sing hymns at the top of my lungs and pray for a while, and suddenly it all kind of made sense because amidst all this dirt and dust and decay, God seemed more present than ever. And if he could find me here, he could find me anywhere. And if he believed in someone with such different dreams as me, maybe my hopes of making music and pursuing a greater purpose were not silly childhood ideas, but part of a grander scheme, my own road to paradise. Now, he was a fine guitarist, songwriter, and singer. And in time, he would tour with some of the great country and western stars. He took a real interest in my talent. It was Uncle Bill that brought me to the attention of Kaz Walker. Mr. Walker had become a multi-millionaire by selling his groceries on radio and TV. And I remember the day that Uncle Bill introduced me. Looked up at him in his starched white shirt, almost eye level with his belt buckle, which seemed to a poor kid from the hills to be a thing of almost unimaginable richness.
Mr. Walker! I want to work for you.
Well, young lady, you've got a job. See, a lot of people come to me and say, Mr. Walker, I want a job. But you said I want to work for you. You're hired because you're the first one that ever wanted to work.
And did I ever? This show was broadcast live in the middle of the day from a little auditorium there at radio station WIVK in Knoxville.
Pick up the morning paper when it hits the street. Gas Walker's prices, they just can't be beat. Get that blueberry coffee if you want some more.
Deep grocery shopping at a
Gas Walker's store. Sing it again, darling.
deep grocery shopping at a
Gas Walker's store.
By the time I was 10 years old, I was on the radio. And I sang on television before my family ever even owned one.
Howdy, neighbors. Thanks for tuning in to the program. Now, I want to remind you folks about this week's grocery specials. I guarantee these are rock bottom, cost-cutter prices, and you ain't gonna do any better at them big national chain stores. Now, I want to welcome a local gal. She just made her first recording with Gold Band Records. And you wrote this tune, little lady?
I sure did. Oh, that is, we
Well, let's have a listen.
With the hope of getting me on the grand old road. He'd buy some kind of old junked up car and off we'd go. We had to sleep in that car and wash up with cold water in gas station restrooms. But our goal was to get as close as we could to where the action was.
Here's the 10 million Grand Ole Opry.
One night after the Grand Ole Opry at the Ryman, Uncle Bill and I waited and waited and waited in the parking lot to meet Johnny Cash. Finally, I was a feisty kind of kid. I don't know who coined the phrase, but it used to be said of me that I was smart enough to know everything and dumb enough to say it. But being 13 years old from the Smokies and having never seen a man with such a presence, I didn't know if I'd be able to speak. Well, that didn't last long.
Mr. Cash, I've just got to sing at the Grand Ole Opry. I've just got to.
You know, I actually think she means it. It's Dolly, right?
Finally, one Saturday night, Jimmy C. Newman agreed to let me go on in his spot. And when my time came to sing, it just so happened that
I want you now, if you will, please, to make welcome a little girl I met recently. She's from up in East Tennessee, and her daddy is listening to the radio at home. And she's gonna be in some real trouble she doesn't sing tonight. So, let's bring her out here, Little Miss Dolly Parton.
I was saying, here I am, world, this is me. After that, Uncle Bill and I signed a deal with Buddy Killen at Tree Publishing as songwriters, and I was to have a recording session for Mercury Records.
It may not kill me, but it sure.
Dropped from Mercury Records. My graduation from high school couldn't come fast enough because the following day I was headed bus with my dreams, my old guitar, the songs I've been writing for years, and the rest of my belongings in a set of matching luggage. 3 paper bags from the same grocery store. It was never easy, and it could get mighty lonesome. There was a lot of knocking on doors and random singing gigs here and there. I couldn't afford a car, didn't have a telephone, and about the only time I ate was when I went out on a date. And I didn't go out on that many dates. But I had just something that kept pushing me forward, even when I was so scared and wished I could stop. It was something I had to do. Not because somebody else had told me I had to, because I told myself I did. At last, I become what people in the business were calling up and coming. I did live spots on the Ralph Emery Show and another early morning radio program called The Eddie Hill Show. By early morning shows, I mean 5 o'clock in the morning. Our first big break came when Fred Foster, who owned both Combine Publishing and Monument Records, signed Uncle Bill and I to a deal that included both writing and recording. Country singer Bill Phillips wanted to record one of our songs called Put It Off Until Tomorrow and asked if the girl singer on the demo tape could sing harmony with him on the record. Well, that girl was me.
Put it off until tomorrow. You hurt me enough today. You say our love is over, that you have found another. You say you're going away, but leave me tomorrow. You hurt me enough today.
Well, the record was a big hit, and disc jockeys all over America were asking, who's that girl singing harmony? Well, that was just the ammunition we needed to convince Fred Foster that I should be singing some serious country.
Dolly, you've recorded a beautiful song recently, so why don't you just go ahead and sing, Dumb Blonde?
Do what?
Oh, well, that came out wrong. Dolly Parton has a new song called Dumb Blonde, and she'd like to sing it for all.
Don't try to hide your way out of this. Don't try to lie, or I'll catch you in. Don't try to make me feel sorry for you. Just because I'm not, don't think I'm wrong. 'Cause this time I didn't know what is true. When you asked, you thought I'd sing, you thought I'd weep, you thought I'd cry. You told me I don't belong. I will somehow, I will prove it. And you know, if there's one thing this world
best show in the country at the time, and a female singer on his show, Norma Jean, who everybody loved. Now, I had sent songs to people all over Nashville, including Porter and Norma Jean, so I assumed that was the reason my guitar and I were being songs. I sang the song that I brought, and he just sat there for a minute or two with his hands on his chin, and suddenly he blurted out, "Norma Jean's getting married and moving to Oklahoma. I want you to be my new girl singer."
And now, in color, it's the Porter Wagoner Show, starring Porter Wagoner with Don Porter Wagoner, featuring Spec Reynolds and Dolly Parton. Bringing you your favorite songs and stars, the Grand Ole Opry. Please welcome Porter Wagoner and Dolly Parton.
It's a lesson too late for the learning. Bit of sad, bit of sad.
In the wake of diamonds always turning in your hand, in your hand. Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will it be on a trace left behind? I could've loved you better. I didn't mean to be unkind. You know it was last thing on my mind. As we walk along, my thoughts are tumbling around and round, around and round.
Underneath our feet, subways rumbling. Underground, underground.
Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will there be not a trace left behind?
What will you bear to me to be unkind?
You know that was the last thing on my mind. You know that was the last thing on my mind.
Well, now here's a little gal I know you're really gonna learn to love. Because she's a fine singer and one of the finest little gals I ever met. Pretty Miss Dolly Parton.
Hey, hey.
house with an upstairs. It's got 2 stories. I would say that the real problems that arose between Porter and I were all about dueling dreams. Porter dreamed of me staying with his show forever, and I dreamed of having my own show, my own future. Many people think that the song I Will Always Love You was written about a breakup of 2 lovers, but in fact, I wrote it about Porter and the special, although painfully heart-wrenching time that we spent together. It was time to move on. They say all good things must come to an end. I say all things must come to new beginnings.
It's been a long, dark night, and I've been waiting for the morning. It's been a long, hard fight, but I see a brand new day dawning. I've been looking for sunshine. You know, I ain't seen it in so long, but everything's gonna work out just fine, and everything's gonna be alright. That's been a while, 'cause I can see the light of a clear blue morning. I can see the light of a brand new day. I can see the light of a clear blue morning. Oh, and everything's gonna be alright. It's gonna be okay. 'Cause I can see the light of a clear blue morning. I can see the light of a brand new day. It's gonna be
I was on my own, and it was my time to experiment. So first, I toured with what we call the Traveling Family Band. And then I did get my own television show, and I called it Dolly. Surprise! I was just trying to find a new direction for myself.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take
in Nashville complained that I was leaving country music, I'd always reply, I'm not leaving it, I'm taking it with me.
Keep just when I'm about to make you agree that you look into my eyes and light as pretty eyes, and pretty soon I'm wondering how I came to got to hold you. You smile and smile and never about the process. Just look to you and I leave you out. You're messing up my mind and feeling like my senses. Love you never never more. There's a reality and shaking you so that all I really know
Along the way, entertainment executives and record companies would often question the way I looked, and they'd try to change me. But I refused. As I said, I always knew I was different. The reason I like my hair pretty close, because it's something I never had as a kid. I'm not trying to follow any styles. May not be in style, but I like to think that I've got my own style. Like me, the girl used to say, any old barn looks better with a little red paint on it.
I Sitting on the front porch on a summer afternoon, in a straight back chair on two legs leaned against the wall.
Home has a way of calling you back, be it in the memories, the people, or just the feelings of comfort and love that home seems to promise. Sometimes it seems like you can just breathe a little better there, and sometimes maybe find yourself again. There's a reason they're called roots, planted deep and hard to get rid of. My Smoky Mountain DNA are really these kinds of songs. Once I start to sing them, that music just gets to me. It just hollers at me all the time. Says, you get back in here, this is who you are. This is what you do best.
The hills were alive with wildflowers, and I was his welcoming right of the way. But when we stopped to run, they just started a song, and I refused to just read the lyrics. Just say loud now to us, needing freedom to grow. So I ran
of good times, my heartaches and my heartbreaks, they're all there in the stories I write. My hope is that people listening might realize that other folks have the same feelings and they're not alone.
Don't let me perhaps is blue.
I'm not offended by all the dumb blonde jokes because I know I'm not dumb. And I know I'm not blonde. The night I graduated from high school, we were all asked to stand up and talk about what we were going to do with the rest of our lives. When it came my time, well, I stood right up. And I said, well, I'm going to Nashville, and I'm going to be a star. Well, the whole place just laughed out loud, and I was so embarrassed, and I thought, how odd. Why is everybody laughing?
There was a little girl in Tennessee just making her way.
And apparently this little gal had plenty to say.
From her humble beginning, she would rise to the top.
With the talent and desire, quickly no one could stop.
She had a look,
A fair
A style,
a hair that set her apart.
and when she opened her mouth, the words came straight from her heart.
Cost a lot to look this cheap.
A dose of sex, a dash of smarts, a splash of haunted rhythm, and that's what we call Dollywood.
Everybody always wants to know, how long does it take to do your hair? Well, how long will I know? I'm never there.
A dose of sex,
Well, I'm a self-made woman, and I've got the doctor bills to prove it.
a dash of sport.
Well, I've tried every diet in the book. I tried some that weren't in the book. I tried eating the book. It tasted better than most of the diets.
A splash of optimism.
Don't get so busy making a living, you forget to make a life.
and that's what we
That's what we call.
One question I often get is, what do you want people to say about you 100 years from now? Well, I want them to say, dang, don't she look good for her age? People often ask me, Tony, are you ever going to slow down? I always say, now why in the world would I go and do a thing like that? If you love what you're doing, why would you ever stop doing what you love? Everything takes hard work. Everything takes sacrifice. But wherever there's a song to be sung and a story to be told, well, that's where you'll find me.
Well, I've sacrificed time with family and friends. Gave up vacations for work without end. 24/7, 365. But I was willing to make the sacrifice. But empty on her full, I carried my pen. Don't you know
road, not a highway. We don't travel this road in a fine car, or even in the most humble horse-drawn wagon. We walk it each step of the way with the dust of that rugged road clinging to our bare feet. Although we seldom realize it at the time, that dust is more precious to us than gold dust. It is the dust of experience, of error, of forgiveness, of risk and reward. More important than the road itself are the people we meet along the way and the love we share with them. The poet Emily Dickinson once said, "The only thing I know about love is that love is all there is." And as my mama would always say, we're rich people because we know we've got love and we got each other. All these lovely nights are blue, and my southern heart is blue, as I wonder how the old folks are back home. But I know that they love me, and I know they're thinking of me. Smoky Mountain memories keep me strong. I'll keep looking to